Rain slid slowly down the giant glass windows of Romano's grill while expensive cars filled the parking lot outside. Inside the restaurant, warm lights reflected against polished marble floors as wealthy customers laughed over expensive dinners and wine glasses. But near the kitchen doors, Emma Carter was struggling to breathe. Not because she was sick, but because she was exhausted. She balanced 3 heavy trays across both arms while trying to remember 4 different table orders at the same time. Table 7 needs another lemonade. Emma, table 4 is asking for ranch again. The birthday cake is late. The voices hit her from every direction. Still, she kept moving because she had no choice. Her rent was already 2 weeks overdue. Her mother's medical bills sat unpaid on the kitchen counter at home. And if she lost this job, everything would fall apart. Emma forced herself to smile and walked toward another table. Meanwhile, near the center of the restaurant, Beverly Sinclair relaxed comfortably in a luxury booth beside her mother. She wore designer clothes worth more than Emma made in 2 months. Diamond bracelets sparkled around her wrist while shopping bags rested beside her chair. I still think I should have bought the other purse too, Beverly said while scrolling through her phone. Her mother, Victoria Sinclair, sighed tiredly. You already spent $3,000 today. And? Victoria slowly handed her credit card across the table. Beverly smiled immediately. That's why you're my favorite person. Nearby customers glanced toward them quietly. Everyone in Romano's grill recognized the Sinclair family. Rich, powerful, untouchable. At least that's what Beverly believed. A few moments later, Emma finally approached their table carrying waters carefully. I'm so sorry for the wait, Emma said politely. We're a little short-staffed tonight. Beverly rolled her eyes dramatically. Well, it's about time. Victoria immediately looked uncomfortable. Beverly. What? I'm starving. Emma ignored the comment professionally. What can I get started for you tonight? Victoria smiled kindly. I'll have the Mandarin Crunch salad. Emma nodded while writing quickly. And for you? Beverly barely looked up from her phone. Just bring me the same thing. And please hurry. Absolutely. Emma walked away quickly toward the kitchen. Victoria lowered her voice. You didn't need to speak to her like that. Beverly shrugged. She's a waitress. And? How hard can that job even be? Victoria stared at her daughter carefully for several seconds, long enough to realize something painful. Beverly truly believed that, not because she was evil, but because she had never struggled long enough to understand other people. 20 minutes later, Emma returned carrying their salads. Here you go, Victoria smiled warmly. Thank you. But the second Beverly looked down at the plate, everything changed. Wait, Emma froze. There are sunflower seeds in this? Emma blinked nervously. Yes. They normally come with the salad. Beverly's expression darkened immediately. Are you trying to kill me? The restaurant grew quieter. Emma's stomach dropped. I'm sorry? I'm allergic to sunflower seeds. Emma's face lost color instantly. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. You should have asked. Victoria quickly stepped in. Beverly, calm down. No. What if I ate this? Emma looked completely shaken now. I can remake it right away. Beverly crossed her arms. Unbelievable. Victoria sighed deeply. It's not her fault. I forgot to mention the allergy. But Beverly refused to let it go. Her job isn't that hard. Emma quietly picked up the plate while trying not to cry. I'll fix it immediately. As she walked away, Beverly muttered loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. Some people really can't do anything right. The words hit Emma harder than Beverly realized. Not because they were new, but because she already felt them herself every single night. Inside the kitchen, Emma leaned against the counter trying to steady her breathing. Another waitress touched her shoulder gently. You okay? Emma nodded quickly even though she wasn't. I'm fine. But she wasn't fine. She was tired. Tired of smiling through humiliation. Tired of pretending rude customers didn't hurt. Tired of working 12-hour shifts only to barely survive. Still, she wiped her eyes and returned to work. Because life doesn't stop just because someone breaks your spirit for a moment. Back at the table, Victoria watched Emma carefully, then finally looked toward Beverly. "You owe her an apology," Beverly laughed. "For what?" "For acting cruel." "Oh, please. She's being paid to serve people." Victoria slowly sat back in silence. And for the first time that evening, she realized how disconnected her daughter had become from reality. After dinner finally ended, Victoria quietly placed several $100 bills on the table. Emma noticed immediately. "Oh no, Mom, that's too much. You earned it." Before Emma could react, Beverly suddenly grabbed the money off the table. "What are you doing?" "She doesn't deserve this. Beverly. She almost poisoned me." Emma quickly shook her head. "It's okay, really. Then..." Beverly pulled several crumpled dollar bills from her purse and tossed them onto the table carelessly. "There, be grateful." The entire restaurant fell silent. Emma stared at the money without moving. Victoria looked horrified. "Beverly, enough." But Beverly simply grabbed her purse and walked toward the exit. Outside, rain poured heavily across the city streets. Victoria followed her daughter into the parking lot. "You embarrassed yourself tonight." Beverly crossed her arms. She embarrassed herself. "No, you humiliated someone who works harder in one night than you've worked your entire life." Beverly stared in disbelief. "Are you serious right now?" Victoria opened the car door slowly. "Do you know how I helped your father build our company?" Beverly shrugged. "You always say you worked hard. I waited tables." Silence. Beverly almost laughed. "You?" "Yes." "For real?" Victoria nodded. "For 3 years." Beverly looked genuinely disturbed by the idea. "That's depressing." Victoria's expression changed instantly. "No, what's depressing is watching my daughter disrespect hardworking people because she thinks money makes her better than them." Beverly's confidence finally weakened slightly, but not enough. "Whatever." Victoria extended her hand calmly. "Give me the credit card." Beverly froze. "What? The card? You're joking." "I'm serious." Beverly stared at her mother in disbelief, while rain crashed around them. "You can't do that." "Yes, I can." "How am I supposed to buy things?" Victoria looked directly into her daughter's eyes. "Get a job." And for the first time in years, Beverly Sinclair heard the word no. The next few weeks felt like a nightmare. Every luxury Beverly once treated casually suddenly disappeared. No shopping, no expensive lunches, no vacations, no unlimited spending, and worst of all, no control. She applied everywhere. Most places rejected her immediately. Some managers recognized her family name and assumed she wouldn't last a week. Eventually, one small restaurant downtown agreed to hire her as a waitress. Beverly almost refused instantly, but she needed money. So 3 days later, she stood nervously inside a cheap black uniform staring at her reflection. In the employee bathroom mirror, she looked ridiculous. At least that's what she thought. "First day?" Beverly turned around quickly. An older waitress smiled kindly. "Don't worry. Everyone cries during their first week." Beverly forced a fake laugh. "I'm not going to cry." 2 hours later, she nearly did. Customers complained constantly. Orders got mixed up. Children spilled drinks. A man shouted because his steak arrived medium instead of medium rare. Another customer snapped his fingers at her repeatedly like she was invisible. By the end of the night, Beverly's feet burned painfully. Her makeup was ruined, and she had never felt more exhausted in her entire life. But the worst part wasn't the physical exhaustion. It was realizing something terrifying. Emma had handled all of this while Beverly mocked her. Night after night, the job became harder. Some customers were kind, but most weren't. No matter how fast Beverly moved, someone always complained. One evening, she accidentally dropped a tray beside a crowded table. Glasses shattered across the floor. Customers groaned loudly. Her manager rushed over furiously. "What are you doing?" "I'm sorry. You need to focus." Beverly stood frozen while everyone stared at her. And suddenly she remembered Emma standing in Romano's grill holding that salad plate while customers watched silently. For the first time, Beverly truly understood that feeling of humiliation. Weeks passed, then months. Slowly, something inside Beverly started changing. She became calmer, kinder, and quieter. She stopped judging strangers so quickly, stopped wasting money carelessly, stopped believing difficult jobs were easy. One cold evening, after another exhausting shift, Beverly counted her tips alone in the storage room. $87 after working 10 straight hours. Her eyes filled with tears unexpectedly, not because the money was bad, but because she finally understood how hard people worked just to survive. Meanwhile, across town, Emma continued working at Romano's Grill exactly like before. Still exhausted, still struggling financially, still surviving one shift at a time. But life was slowly improving. Her manager recently promoted her to shift supervisor. Customers loved her calm personality. And despite everything, she never allowed rude people to turn her bitter. One snowy afternoon several months later, Beverly entered Romano's Grill again beside her mother. But this time, everything felt different. The smells, the noise, the stress. She noticed things she ignored before. Waitresses rushing everywhere. Sweaty cooks inside the kitchen. Managers solving problems non-stop. Work, real work. Then suddenly she saw Emma. Emma froze slightly after recognizing her. An awkward silence passed between them. Beverly stepped forward nervously. "Hi." Emma offered a cautious smile. "Hi." Beverly looked down briefly. "I just wanted to say, I'm really sorry." Emma blinked in surprise. For before, Beverly laughed softly at herself. "I had no idea how hard your job actually was." Emma studied her face carefully and realized something shocking. She meant it. Beverly continued quietly. "I was awful to you." Emma smiled gently. "You were stressed." "No," Beverly admitted honestly. "I was spoiled." That answer changed everything. Emma laughed softly. "Well, now you know." "Yeah," Beverly said. "Now I definitely know." For the first time, both women genuinely smiled. Victoria watched the interaction quietly from nearby, proud. Not because Beverly became perfect, but because she finally became human. A few minutes later, Emma returned carrying their salads carefully. Beverly immediately smiled. "No sunflower seeds," Emma laughed. Exactly. The entire table felt lighter now, different. After dinner ended, Beverly reached into her purse and carefully placed several folded bills onto the table, far more than necessary. Emma looked surprised. "That's too much." Beverly shook her head. "No." Then she smiled softly. "Now I know what hard work actually looks like." Emma looked down at the money for several seconds before meeting Beverly's eyes again. And in that quiet moment, both women understood something important. Respect cannot be purchased with money, only earned through experience. Outside, snow drifted slowly through the city while customers continued entering and leaving the restaurant beneath glowing lights. And somewhere between humiliation, struggle, exhaustion, and growth, a spoiled rich girl finally learned the value of kindness.